All right, I think we can get started. A lot of our speakers are already here, and if you just got here, please request a mic, and our host will, me and our host will bring you on the speakers. Great, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and welcome to Web3 Social Club. This is a Twitter Space series by Mask Network, where we invite projects and builders of the next generation social networks and infrastructure to share their insights. I am your host, Hannah. I lead global growth at Mask Network. We're a social infrastructure project that bridge Web 2 and Web 3 to build an open internet, giving data ownership back to the users. And for those that are not too familiar with Mask, we do so specifically through two channels right now. One is a browser extension and relevant mobile application that integrates Web3 dApps seamlessly on traditional social media like Twitter. So we vampire attack like traditional social media to allow users build a private Web3 social network on top of it. And number two, we're building our own digital identity aggregation protocol called NextID that empowers user-owned holistic identity graph across Web 2 and Web 3. So for today's topic, we are focusing on the emerging Web3 projects and the builders. The context for this is in May, Mask Network was actually we've partnered with our friend Gitcoin on the hackathon and have seen over 200 unique, amazing projects building around Web3 social as a broader theme. And following the hackathon, Mask has also sponsored the Web3 social grant round for Gitcoin's GR14, and the donation for that is ending tomorrow. So if after today's Twitter space, you really appreciate and really support some of our builders today, a lot of them do have their donation open on Gitcoin. So would appreciate your support. So today we have some of the top finalist projects from the East Shanghai Hackathon, as well as the grant round here, alongside with Bob, the steward of Gitcoin with us, and the founder of SwapChat, Luke. Yeah, so this is our largest Web3 social club panel ever. I'll give you a quick overview of who are the projects that are present, and we'll love to hear from representatives from each of the project to share a bit more in terms of like what you do. Yeah, so we have DAOU, Ting from DAOU, and Colin from MetaMail, Jiajun Zeng from Proof of Soul, and Li Duck from Taishan Soul Card, Bob from Gitcoin, Luke from SwapChat, Elena from Arche Network, Olivia from Readem, and last but not least, Xendarboh, if I pronounce your name correctly, from Kwil database. Yeah. Awesome. So welcome to all of our guests. I've recently talked to Luke in the last one. Yeah. Really great to have you here. So maybe we can start with our Gitcoin's steward, Bob, to introduce yourself and to share with our audience. Some of them may not be super familiar with how Gitcoin works and how it supports Web3 builders. So we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. And I'm so honored to be here, to introduce a little bit about Gitcoin and myself. So actually I joined Gitcoin last year, and I am a Gitcoin steward for now, and also co-contributors for Gitcoin DAO. And so today our topic is emerging Web3 projects. And so I believe that for the builders, for designers as well, the Gitcoin is a good place, a good platform to join. And I'd like to thank Mask Network as well for organizing the East Shanghai and also bring many great projects to Gitcoin platform. So yeah, that's all.
Great. Great to hear have you here today, Bob. And next up, we have Luke from SwapChat.
Hey guys, it's great to be here. So SwapChat and Web3 MQ, we're essentially building this cross-platform and Web3 native experience for IM chat and notifications, basically communication needs for users in the Web3 age, and try to making this interoperable and cross-platform so that whether you're from one app or the other, we can have this experience like the whole email age where no matter if you're using Gmail or Google Mail or Microsoft Mail or some other mail, everyone can talk with each other and interoperably communicate with each other. So that's kind of our mission and what we're building here.
Great. Good to have you here, Luke. And next up, we have Ting from DAOU.
Hey guys, we're happy to be here. I'm Ting Fei. Our project is DAOU, and we want to integrate on-chain and off-chain data to build a comprehensive DAO reputation system with SBT and social oracle. Okay, that's all.
Awesome. And I think we'll definitely touch upon a very topical SBT and kind of DID later in our discussion today. A lot of the projects are built around that. So good to have you here, Ting Fei. And next up, we have Colin from MetaMail.
Hi everyone, is my voice clear?
Yep.
Okay,
very cute
I'm calling. Okay, thank you. I'm calling from MetaMail. We are building MetaMail, which is a Web3 email provider. And you can easily log into MetaMail with your wallet, such as MetaMask. And there is no registration phase. You just signature your give your address and give MetaMail your address, and with the signature you can log into MetaMail and sign and send encrypt emails to ensure security. And MetaMail is a free product, which means that you can use it without any gas fees. And MetaMail is also compatible with other mails like Gmail and Outlook. You can send and receive emails with other mail providers. And that's all.
Great. Thank you, Colin, and congrats on the achievement at the East Shanghai Hackathon. And next up, we have Jiajun from Proof of Soul.
Hi, this is Jiajun, and we are building Proof of Soul. It's a soulbound token issuance protocol. We are trying to build a tool for people to issue and attach soulbound token permissionlessly. And because we think that there are a lot of misconceptions about the concept of soulbound token, and which we want to clarify or maybe try to educate the user that what is the real definition of soulbound token, which is consent, revocable, and soulbound. Yeah, that's what we are building right now.
Great, and great to have you, Jiajun. And definitely enjoy a lot of your postings on SBT, and would love to hear more from that. And then next up we have, I think, let me see if she's here. I think we have Alina from Arche Network.
Okay, hi, and thanks to Mass Network Gitcoin for organizing and hosting the Steward space. So I'm Elena from Arche, and we're building a community-driven Web3 gaming ecosystem and infrastructure, which empower and unites the gamers, skills, and game creators or developers with protocols. And our mission is aimed to be a high quality space where people engage, interact, and be creative to share creations with one another for the same mission, which is to build a better game metaverse. We'll also soon will be announcing more and more the products that we've been built and we're going to build. And yeah, really excited to be here and talk to the fellow builders. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Alina. And yeah, I think we have also another kind of X2 earn project here, Readem. So we have Olivia from Readem. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Max Network, for organizing this event. We are a content platform and with a focus on interactive content and novels, mainly web novels. In our platform, users can read, trade, comment, co-create, and share novels. And in that case, we are aiming to liquidizing the value of content in Web3 while interactively reading, creating, and read to earn. And happy to join the panel and looking forward to talk to you guys.
Yeah, great to have you here, Olivia. Yeah, and I know Readem is also doing the grant round on Gitcoin right now. So congrats on that. I think next up, let's see if we have the speakers up. With Gameboy requesting a mic, he does. Okay, maybe not. Doesn't look like it's one of our speakers. With Jiajun's other account, okay, requesting. I believe we also have Xendarboh from Kwil database, who is here, and he's in the process of requesting a mic, so we'll come back to him and have him introduce the project. It's built mostly around kind of the Kwil database and in the Arweave ecosystem. And another one, we have Lee Duck Go from Taishan Soul Card. So I think he's also in the process of figuring out how to request a mic on Twitter. So we'll come back when he gets online. All right. So with that, let's dive into our today's discussion. So I want to first, start with understanding a little bit about all of your experiences for those that participated in the East Shanghai Hackathon, like your biggest achievement and the lesson learned. This year it is an online event due to a lot of the physical restrictions. So yeah, we'd love to get to know your experience for the speakers that want to share, and also like your plans moving forward. Yeah. Any speakers want to start first? Maybe Ting Fei, do you want to?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. During this hackathon, I did most of the development independently, including front end, back end, and smart contracts. So it's pretty hard and stressful. But because of this, I learned a lot from it in a very efficient way. So I think learning by doing is always a good way to learn new knowledge. And I also got a lot of help from old and new friends. So my suggestion is, if you want to learn Web3 development, the most efficient way must be participate a hackathon. So that's all.
Great. What about others? Maybe MetaMail?
Okay. In fact, we released our beta version of MetaMail 2 weeks before ETH Shanghai Hackathon, and then we came to here. Before we came to ETH Shanghai Hackathon, our roadmap, we imagined that we should build almost all things by ourselves. But after we came to ETH Shanghai Hackathon, we have seen many fantastic projects building users' identities, profiles, and relations for Web3 residents. Therefore, which changes our mind. We think that Web3 applications could be co-constructed through open protocols. So about how MetaMail will move on, we think that we will next publish our protocols for signature and end-to-end encryption, and design more protocols beyond sending and receiving emails. So developers can follow the same protocols to build different applications with users' DIDs. And thank you. That's what I learned in ETH Shanghai Hackathon.
Great, thank you for sharing, and it's definitely inspiring to see kind of also among the projects rooms for collaboration after a hackathon, and we wish like this could be offline, and then you can all find establish even more sincere and like kind of deeper relationships and friendships through the event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then I know also Arche Network participating in the hackathon. Do you want to share some of your takeaways as well?
Yeah, sure. So
forward.
actually, for Arch Network ourselves, this was our first time participating in hackathon in Ethereum Shanghai, and our team is very grateful to the organizers for organizing this event. And we have learned so much, and what we learned the most is the open spirit of Web3. So from the initial team forming stage to the demo day, we feel like everyone, the builders, are very open-minded and also willing to learn from each other, make friends, and of course, looking forward to build something good together. And we think that it's really good to feel that you'll never be alone in the space, or people are like thriving, people are stick to the same mission just to build a better world. That's our take.
Great. And for Jiajun, do you want to also share something about your East Shanghai experience?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's also like most of us here. It's our first hackathon experience. It's really amazing. That I think building is really fun. Like we haven't, especially under such a tight schedule. The resources are limited, so we have to focus on the key concept of our product. So like we have like daily meeting, which is really like interesting. We have very deep conversation with our designer, developer. Yeah, it's just a reminder all of us that that building the product we believe is really fun, and seeing the results that we got a lot of votes and got to the final round. It's really exciting.
Yeah, great to hear that. And I want to also hear from from the builder's point of view, as well as from the judge's point of view, because I know Bob also was at the final demo day for hackathon. Like Bob, could you share some of your impressions about the project as a judge, and also moving forward with the grant round? What are some of the projects and trends that really excite you?
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. I actually, as a original plan, I should be a judge, but but I really had some urgent thing to solve. Yeah, so finally I missed the judge, the demo day. Yeah, but I took a look on the project, and I found that. There are several interesting projects. Yeah, so for example, there are some tools related with DAOU, and I believe that next phase, the DAOU tools, it could be it could be a great direction, and it's because from last year, DAOU is a hot topic. And actually, there are many problems in different DAOs. I'm not sure. So how many DAOs or which DAO are you working in? But as I'm in Gitcoin DAO and also in ES DAO, I found that even in such famous DAOs, there are lots of problems. For example, the conversation and also how to onboard the people, how to onboard the talent, and I believe that the DAO tools could be a great direction. So this is first thing. Second, I noticed that there is a project. It's related with the soulbound token SBT. So it's really hot topics recently, and so I believe that there will be many use cases with soulbound token, and so it's very interesting about the soulbound token, and so that's all from my view. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. And I think there are three maybe general themes that I would love to kind of delve in with the speakers tonight. One is around kind of the soulbound token, DID, and one around DAO, since Bob is a steward of a DAO, and then there are a lot of like DAO tooling, and that's what DAOU is doing. So around DAO tooling, like, can we dive a little bit deeper into like what are the specificities, what are the current problems that DAOs are facing, and another thread is around kind of Gamefi, and in terms of next steps for kind of gaming related applications and onboarding general users and users to Web3, whether that's an entry point. So I'm super excited to unfold all of these topics with you all. And I know like both SwapChat, Web3MQ, and Readem are currently participating in the grant round. So we'd love to hear from Luke and Olivia, like how's that going, and what are some of the how's that experience participating in the grant round?
I think generally it's been a very amazing experience. We haven't actually done too much PR yet around the grant rounds. I think we were a little bit late beginning, but I think Gitcoin's done a very good job building an excellent community around the whole Gitcoin grant, the whole Gitcoin brand, and also making sure that people just know what Gitcoin is about. And so I think there's a few hundred people already donating for us that we haven't really been shilling out too hard on yet, but it's I think, again, one of those times where you're reminded of the power of Web3 and the power of community, and how a very good initiative can just have people organically coming on and supporting the movement. And so, I think it's truly amazing. We're fortunately in the position of having funding and not exactly having to rely on this to keep operations going, but I certainly can see Gitcoin grants growing bigger and bigger in the future to support more early stage projects, and I really hope it keeps on developing, and I hope what we're doing also around social communications and instant messaging and messaging and whatnot can also maybe help Gitcoins and DAOs develop further in the future.
Yes, it's great to hear. And a side note, I think masks we have our ecosystem fund. We're actually, I think, the second largest I think bounty issuers on Gitcoin, and also for this Web3 social grant, Web3 social round, Mask is sponsoring a lot of it as well. So we're really excited to enable more early stage builders to build. And one thing definitely we'll talk about is, especially during this like market condition, how can we better support builders to keep building and the different resources that are available. Yeah. And Olivia, do you want to share more about like your like Readem's Grand Run experience and how we can support you?
So basically, we have just started this project a few months ago. So during the process, we have met a lot of friends and also helping hands from the community, also from this friend circle, and an introduction from through friends as well. So in Gitcoin, we aim to make more like collaborations and also meet more friends to support us. And also we aim to attract more people who enjoy reading and enjoy creating. So yeah, that will be it. Thank you.
Yeah, great to hear.
Based on that, we aim to build a system to match those contents with the right target of group of users, so that people from, for example, the people enjoying romantic novels, they can have the chance to get exposed to new promising writers in that sector, and then become the early supporters, and even join the co-creation process to share the following loyalty share. So that's our aim of that, and then that can only be implemented if we have that kind of tons of data and then tons of data science related experience. So I guess compared to other like content platforms, we have that kind of edge. Another thing is like we have built a lot of partnership with content platforms, including in China, Southeast Asia, and North America. So ranging from like web novels to comic books to like news, so that we can provide like not only like typical snackable content, but also like potential high quality analytics report in the future. So that would be the two main points that distinguish our team from other like similar platforms.
Great. It's very exciting to hear, and like it's a team combined kind of arts and literature and science, data science and numbers. Yeah, and then I see Xendarboh if I pronounced your name right, is finally here. Hi.
Hi there. Xendarboh is here.
Hi, Xendarboh. Good to have you here.
Hi.
So we missed you at the round of introduction. Would you like to, share with us, like, who you are and the project you're building, the Kwil DB, and I think you came in the right time. Kind of also go on and share about, what do you think is your edge building in this space, and what drove you to build this current project?
All right. So my name is Xendarboh, and by the way, the speaker Twitter space works on the phone, not the website. So my name's Xendarboh. My project in the hackathon is Kwil DB CLI, and Kwil database is a really interesting project that is bringing SQL into Web3 with blockchain on the back end. And my project created an interface to load databases and have a terminal to access that in the way that people are used to through MySQL and PSQL type of clients. Question is, what drove me to the field, and what are we building?
Yeah, what drove you to the field, and what do you think is your unique edge building in this particular niche?
All right. Well, what drove me here was the opportunity to contribute value to the human experience here. The technology is amazing. The community type of development is amazing. My edge that follows me is I tend to have an infinite supply of technical creativity, and I contribute a lot of that to just learning and learning and learning. And the hackathon's a great mechanism for that because it supports a lot of learning and mentorship and networking and things like that. And the broader your palette is of those ideas, then it's easier to draw on for solutions.
Absolutely, and I think within the space, your edge is definitely, we love your energy and kind of this like passion, enthusiasm you have for this space. So great to have you here today as a speaker, Xendarboh.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's see if anyone else want to share, like why you're building the space. Maybe Arch Network.
Yeah, so actually, from our side is so we've set up our team from last year, and we learned a lot. We launched our two mainnets, and at the same time we've taken it down, and we're heading towards a new Arch network, and it's really nice. And also we're currently preparing for our rebranding. It's the concept, everything's gonna be the same, but it's just a fresh start for our future self as a project. And that's it from us. And maybe we can move forward to the next questions, or can I also share about our DID, or it's gonna be the next question?
We'll talk about I think DID in a bit. Cool. DID, Soban, and a lot. And I want to see if other speakers want to share, like kind of what drove you to the space, and why you think you have a unique edge building in this particular like vertical that you're in.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Well, first, what drove us here? Well, we think the blockchain industry, or like Web3 industry, is so broken, it's so financialized, and personally, I don't like those ugly monkey NFT, and we think that Ethereum or blockchain is like way more than that. That's why we are so excited about the paper that written by Glenwell, Puya, and Vitalik, and we have a lot of discussion with Vitalik himself and Glenwell, Puya, and we decided to like try to implement this idea to help people to issue and mint the Soban token that allow them to bring their relationship on chain to unlock several potential use case in the blockchain space to help to facilitate to build a so-called decentralized society. Yeah, that's where do we come from, and why do we think we have the edge? We think that we have the legitimacy from the community since we are so connected with the author, with the idea of the Showbound token paper. Yeah.
Yes, I think Jiajun is definitely one of the people who are like most well versed and well read in the kind of SBT and other like writings by Vitalik and other folks in the Ethereum network ecosystem. So I think that actually I want to see if other speakers want to share about kind of why they're building in this space. Yeah. If not, I think that's actually a perfect segue into our next topic. A lot of the projects, like what Arch Network was talking about and Proof of Soul mentioned, are like building around this kind of trending to concepts of DIDs and SBTs, both during the hackathon and the grand round. And I just came from a different space where, like Twitter space, where people were talking about kind of understanding what it is. So I'll love to ask our speakers here. What's your understanding of DID and in relation to like Soulbound tokens, and how do you see like how will the future evolve with these, and like in particular how will like your projects interface with DIDs and maybe also SBTs? Yeah, anyone want to first start?
I could jump in there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an interesting emergence. I see, DIDs and SBTs emerging as this huge digitization process. Like everything that can be digitized, we will eventually, given enough time. When I think of DIDs, it's interesting to note that there is a proposed recommendation from the W3C. That's the Worldwide Web Consortium that's in charge of developing public standards like HTML and CSS. And I looked at the repository for this, and I see 3 years old on there. So like this is a pretty big deal. That's how big of a deal it is. And that's a fun example of Web 2 emerging to Web 3. And a key word in there is decentralization. So I think in the future, we can expect to see many independent yet interoperable evolving feature sets and implementations of these with standards as the key glue. And so the abstractions like of SBTs is entity-bound tokens like pets, plants, and automobiles, and a great example of all the components that go inside and all the parties involved. Every time it gets serviced, every time a part, even as it dies, the whole record can go into this huge pool of data, and the level of intelligence we can derive out of that. So I'd expect to see specifications kind of like what ERC20 did for tokens, and ERC 721 for NFTs, and 1155 for multi-tokens, and on, and maybe even identity liquidity as different providers. And with those specifications as the common denominator, then the providers and the implementations can be special and different and free to evolve, including feeding back into the growing evolution of the specification while still being compatible in this huge developments, interoperable, that'll work within that, with that decentralization as a key theme within that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good reminder that like kind of DID, the concept of that, predates some of the like the kind of all the discussion about Web3 and like blockchain, and it's something a lot of builders have been thinking about and used in the past in the history of technology. Yeah, and then any other speakers would love to share on that?
Yeah, so I kind of
Go
have
ahead.
a personal take on that, and I'm really keen to also hear other people's opinions on this topic too. And personally, before coming into Web3, I used to be more of a Web2 entrepreneur, so it's definitely SVTs and soulbound tokens and whatnot seem like the right way to go in terms of utility. I mean, obviously, it unlocks enormous value in terms of how people are and how we put value into data in the whole Web3 ecosystem. Because right, nobody wants cookies in the Web3 ecosystem. But however, if you think about it, though, SBTs are basically cookies, right? Basically, some entity, they put a label on you, and this whole process is probably nobody's really implemented it and used it mass scale yet, but I think it's pretty imaginable that we'll have business entities just putting labels on top of people, and it's basically a cookie, right? Only it's on chain, and somehow it's an asset, but it's not transferable, so you can't really monetize off of it as an individual. It's basically right, a label, a cookie that somebody has put on you in a very sometimes probably also single directional fashion. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. In terms of the question of how can we make sure that this doesn't get abused, this doesn't get, say, for example, if people are labeling you in ways that are very biased, very problematic, how can that be changed? Well, what's kind of the more human and social design around this particular vehicle and mechanism, and how can we actually make sure that Web3 is still decentralized in terms of this whole SBT and kind of utilizing data interaction patterns through SBTs, because we can also imagine that whoever's issuing these SBTs, right, they'll be gaining enormous power, and it's very easy. And there's always a tendency for these trust issuing authorities to become more and more centralized over time, and just kind of suck up all of the ability to essentially hand out social capital, right? So yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think from a utility standpoint, SBTs are definitely revolutionary for Web3, but also I do think they do pose a pretty dangerous trend in terms of both equality and biases and how decentralization fundamentally works. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of builders here. For us, we're still doing it pretty careful. We could easily imagine how this could be very, very valuable for a chat app in terms of what we are, and in terms of how to monetize, but we haven't rolled out anything yet just because we're really, really careful about the implications around privacy and biases and the whole Web3 space moving forward. But also, yeah, I'm pretty curious about other builders and their ideas around what this means for them, and how can we make this an overall good thing? Yeah. I think Proof of Soul is raising
go
his
ahead.
hand. Yeah.
Jiajun, yeah. And
Yeah,
this
I
is
think
like, a discussion,
what
like feel free to unmute yourself.
what Luke said is just like one of the biggest misconception. Like the Soban token we are talking about is the consented one, which means that it's not labeling. It's it requires your consent to mint or to receive the tokens. This is the like assumption we are talking about here. We are not airdropping any like Soban token or non-fungible token or whatever token it is. Till you are willing to accept it. And yeah, and of course, in terms of privacy issue, I think a lot of people are already talk about that. We need to be aware that when we bring the information on chain, for now, most of the things are open and in public. So intentionally or unintentionally, those data might cause some consequence that you never imagined. So that's why we need to be careful. Like first, we need to inform the user what consequences might be, and also for now, it's recommended to only bring the data that already public, not something quite like sensitive. And in the future, we think that the ZK Snark technology will be able to bring full privacy on chain. You can not only encrypt the content, but also you can encrypt the sender and the recipient. Yeah, that's our thought.
I think that's a great point about the privacy. That's a big deal, especially when you start talking about connectivity to our souls. And the ZK, the zero knowledge, that's a great opportunity where we can have these proof of things and still respect the privacies in some form of implementations.
Yeah, I can actually think, yeah, it will be really interesting if somehow, these SBTs in the future, if I remember correctly, there's still no open like, something like EIP 721 that's corresponding to sold out tokens, right? Which everyone's using. So I think it's still an open discussion, but yeah, I definitely think if there's some by default ZK enabled SBT that somehow you could build applications on top of, but don't really know what's underneath. Like, maybe there's an SBT for being female and male, or some other gender orientation, but maybe right, you don't always want to disclose that to an application provider. Just because it's my thing, right? I don't have to share if I don't want to. And yeah, I think that definitely could be a really good, interesting direction if possible and implementable. I'm not the expert in terms of this particular field, so I'm not sure if it's implementable. But yeah, definitely, I feel kind of private computing, if possible, could definitely be very promising here. Yeah.
About the idea, I don't know how to raise my hand, but I really have something opinion to show.
Yeah, go
about
ahead,
the idea. Okay, thank you. About the idea, I think the idea is the soul of MetaMail, and our idea comes from the idea. When we think about how people communicate with each other in Web3, and we observed that almost everyone in Web3 has an address or a public-private key pair, and this can be regarded as a DID of somebody in Web3. And this public-private key pair we can use this public-private key pair for many things, such as signature and encryption. And start from this public-private key pair or some we can design some open protocol with consensus, such as some specific format DIDs and various information, such as SwapChat tokens attached to it. And people can use this DID everywhere. For example, we can build various protocols together based on this DID. And different builders can build their favorite products. And users can choose these products freely with his DIDs. For example, they can chatting with each other using his DID, not only in MetaMail, but other similar mails. They can even become developers themselves and create their own social products. But I think currently, the security of DID is worth considering. If I lose my private key and my information may be leaked currently, there should be some methods such as social recovery to recover and transfer my information to my new DID when I lose my private key. For example, I can find some friends in real world, and multi-sign my private information so that when I lose my private key, I can recover this information with my friends. And that's what I want to say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Olivia. Yeah.
Quite agree with most of those previous speakers. I do think like there are a lot of concerns in terms of like many people have multiple wallets, especially both wallets. So those wallets are quite quiet in terms of transactions, but they are using that for like getting, say, our jobs or like doing something that kind of suspicious. While having that kind of one-to-one soulbound token untradeable, that we can easily know who is who, and then another things like we will get more like conscious about what we are going to do with our account, and it's helping us to maintain a healthy ecosystem, which we are seeing currently in Ethereum, which is I would say like kind of balanced by the high transaction fee or gas fee, while in other like comparably cheaper chains like Solana, Avalanche, we are seeing more like unmeaningful or meaningless transactions happening there, because like a transaction is quite easy and cheap, so everyone is doing something like a meaningless or like a quite disturbing there. So while having that kind of soulbound system, a soulbound token, which help us to build a on-chain reputation system, that means that we don't need any like off-chain governance to help us having that kind of credit or credit related stuff going on. And then that means like having that kind of system, that means like we are going to like moving forward to the real, I would say, decentralized system. So I think that's like a must have in our crypto world. So we are really looking forward to that, and then that brings benefits not only to like DeFi projects but also social fi projects or content consuming projects. So that like as a project not so related as to this like concept, we are also looking forward to this concept being implemented. But we do know that there are a lot of like infra related technology improvement need to be done, and looking forward to that from all those like guests related to this concept. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia, for sharing. I want to first give the floor to other speakers. I know because Ting Fei also, DAOU is built Social Oracle, and like using like SBT, and so we'll love to hear from him. And I personally have tons of questions in terms of like where you see kind of DID being implemented in your project. But yeah, Ting Fei, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I want to share some difference, I think, between the DIDs and SBT. I think DIDs can uniquely mark an information resource and provide a container for identity. But there's a problem. That is, DIDs still really heavily rely on existing centralized institutions to issue identity credentials. But with SBT, users or souls can issue credentials to each other. And then we can forming a decentralized trust infrastructure and ultimately defining your identity in the metaverse, or we say decentralized society. So that's the difference, I think, between DIDs and SBT. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to quickly follow up on a lot of these like discussions between the two concepts. Would love to hear like how do you see the relationship? Like, what's the dynamic between DIDs, DID aggregators, like what NextID is building, and also SBTs? Like, do you think like SBT will be a form of like kind of a DID, or like kind of on that credential side, or how would this dynamic work?
Yeah, I think I can talk about that. Let's just echo Colin here that we think like one of the biggest connection between the ID or account and a SwapChat token is that, or why we need SwapChat token, or why we need to bring the relationship on chain, is that we don't want to lose our identity. But for the current implementation, that a lot of Ethereum account or the account you use on MetaMask, they are using the key pair, private key, public key pair, which is extremely dangerous. Once you lost your private key, you are fucked. So we are talking about SwapChat token, and we are talking about the social recovery wallet. The social recovery wallet is just not. It's not another like Ethereum wallet. It's a smart contract wallet that that will enable you to change your sign-in key if your like account got compromised. Therefore, you can always keep your like online identity. It's like a house. You are not like dumping your house because you lost the key of your door. You just change your key, right? But right now, if you're if you use a normal Ethereum wallet or EOA account, that once you lost your key, you need to dump your house. But if we use the smart contract wallet and or like social recovery wallet, we don't need it. And social recovery wallet rely on social relationship, rely on SwapChat token to bring the relationship on chain. Yeah. And yeah, that's my main point regarding DID and SwapChat token.
Got it. So Jiajun, you're saying that more relationships should be kind of connected back to SwapChat token because like everything needs to be like we want to have kind of a safety net through social recovery wallet. Is that your point?
Yeah. One of the most important feature of SwapChat token is to bring the relationship or affiliation on chain. The reason we need to bring those relationship or affiliation on chain, one of the biggest important use case is for social recovery, is for your account safety, for account security. And I mean, in terms of DAO governance, you can already do a lot of things based on the current solution. You can just build on proof of humanity and POAP, right? It's just that POAP might be transferable, but you can still build on that. You can still recognize who are the initial receiver or recipient of certain POAP. So, like for DAO governance or whatever, the current solution is okay.
Got it. Okay, so do you see, I guess, a parallel or like kind of coexistence in terms of like ID or like kind of this like verification paradigm, like having like DIDs and also like SBTs kind of running in parallel?
Yeah, I think they are like SwapChat token is,
and also that's a question for all speakers. I think Colin mentioned kind of having a more of a foundational DID layer or like identity layer that allows different users like to exchange information, having a more of a universal kind of a ID like protocol or consensus. I think there's another school of thoughts that see the world where we have like a lot of different kind of DID providers and solutions out there. Just curious to hear your thoughts on how you see the space will like evolve, and like how will people be building, like, and what will be your personal preference?
Oh yeah, so I think in the future there's definitely, or at the present there already a
Anyone?
cross-chain world.
Do you see like there will be a more of a universal kind of identity ID like protocol underlining and supporting a lot of these like DIDs? Yeah, go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, so I personally think, realistically speaking, probably in the near term future, I would say like in the next 2 years or so, maybe even 3 years, there's just going to be a crap ton of DIDs because everybody wants to build DIDs, and you know it's not hard to imagine that you know, having this particular layer under your control would be of enormous business value to any party, whether if you're simply building DIDs or if you are a social chain, or you know, like say, if somehow say you know some public chain other than Ethereum made DIDs really really well, and somehow people wanted their IDs to be on that chain, then that chain would just be super valuable. So. I think everyone's going to be building DIDs, and the thing about DIDs is, well, it's like you can have, well, you're not allowed to have multiple passports, but there's nothing really stopping multiple institutions from issuing IDs towards you, right? It's kind of like Web2 right now, where you have login with Twitter, login with Facebook, and login with Google, and it's really hard for one company to kill off the other kind of a choice and option. They can't stop other people from issuing IDs towards you, right? Say particular consumer, right? Like right now, I'd say ENS is somewhat of an ID. There's numerous projects like say NameTag that are also trying to turn Twitter handles into assets and whatnot. And all of these have enormous DID potential. So yeah, I think this is a particular layer where I personally think it's better to just share. At least that's our philosophy in terms of, you know, as a chat app for us, we have to think about which IDs to support, but at least our philosophy for now is that we just want to support anyone possible. And I think that's also a better philosophy that leads to a more composable Web3 paradigm that leaves more option for innovation long term. So yeah, that's my personal take.
Yeah. I agree with Luke in the sense we'll probably see a lot of implementations, and that's the fun part of new technology is the experiments can go wild, and we'll see what works and what doesn't. And within that, may even see some beautiful disasters, and that's part of the learning process. It's really exciting what's going to emerge out of here. But I think, you know, communally, collectively, we have desires. We can look at what we didn't like about Web 2 and re-engineer the solutions, you know, this value of privacy and independence and separation from the big data conglomerates. And so there are some underlying themes within that, and the proof of personhood, proof of human existence. That was interesting. Topic that was brought up, and there's different ways, like the social proofs. There's another human node has a way of proofing human existence and proof of living human, where your biometrics can be encrypted and proof that you are a unique individual human. It's Sybil resistance in that way, while you still retain your privacy. You can have an identity, maybe even multiple identities across the field, just like we can have different Twitter handles and things like that. So it's just going to be really interesting and exciting, and maybe a consolidation phase of what works down the road in a few years and how they work together.
I'd like to just add slightly different angle about the IDs, if you guys may. So yeah, the way we Arche network, we see DID. Actually, you know, another person have been mentioning about the various utilizations and implementation, and I truly agree with that. So we see the ID as a form of the most advanced user identity with various of implementations and also utilizations with great both digital and also social impact. And we all know it has huge impact, especially in what we're building in our network in gaming society. So we as a project really embracing the creativity, privacy, and the art of expression in a digital and decentralized society. Hence why we were taking DID seriously. So I think moving forward, we as a builder, we have this huge responsibility for building the IDs to enhance the trust within on-chain, rather for the safest, reliable, and efficient interactions in decentralized society. And also, we as a project, so we need to ensure for our users that we bring the most of the users, whether it's experience-wise, security, functional, and also the feature implementation-wise. And the way we see in the future, I think I agree with all of other speakers. There will be more practical implementations, and it's gonna slowly mainstreaming because we see the evolving of social media and other social network. The fundamental of the ID is quite strong, and it's literally the answer that everyone have been waiting is to be in full control of your identity and what to do about it. So I think in the next 5 years, it's gonna be slowly mainstreaming, and the implementation will be more practical, and it's gonna be a part. The ID is gonna be a part of mass adoptions in crypto space, I would say, because this is literally the answer that people have been waiting to be in control of everything. So that's just a slight angle that I think.
I agree with most of the speakers, and I am very optimistic about the future of DID. Although we can see that there are many builders building different DIDs today, but they are different from Web2 accounts. If a Google account and Facebook account are two accounts, they are different. But in Web3, we use MetaMask or Token Pocket or other cold wallets to log into Ethereum. Although we use different products, where we are actually using a same DID, the Ethereum address, and it is the same with nowadays DID services. If there are general protocols, and the protocol should be as simple as possible, ensure security and social proof. That's all. That's enough. And all the builders just follow the same rules, the same simple rules. And all the DIDs could be used together. And people with DIDs from different products are actually using a same DID under the protocol with consensus. Thus, the mechanism will become simpler. And that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yes. So talking about DID and SB Soulbound token, so I think that the DID is is a technology much older than the blockchain. Yeah. So this is the which is aim to solve the problem is how the individuals have own the digital identity in the digital world. So the DID is a technology is to give you the connection with the decentralized registry. So using the blockchain or the distributed ledger technology. So without blockchain technology, so the DID is only an idea about how to help the users to take back their own identities. So a lot of people get used to using the social accounts like Facebook, Twitter as the digital identity, but literally you don't have the real identity in the digital world. So, but the DID, I think so. BID, I think so. It's a not new concept. So you can see, you can check out the registry, the DID methods registry of the W3C. So you see many DID methods, right? And but the question is, or the problem is, there's a lack of user scenarios. You know, so everyone knows we should have the DID, but so far, a few people to really use the DID. So
yeah, we're still
yeah,
exploring the use cases and all that.
yes. So I have researched and to make some articles about the DID for at least 3 or 4 years. So
Oh, wow,
yes,
that's awesome.
yes. So we can see the as Soban token. Yeah. So I think Vitalik can always give a lot of inspiration with really novel words, terms about. But I think the Soban token is a kind of it's a verifiable credential in the DID space. You know, if the DID is refers to the decentralized identify about the registry, but you should have the verifiable credentials to run the DID. So this is the classical scenario is to explain what a DID is. So you need to have an issue you have an issue, you will send out a challenge about so to verify who you are, what do you have, right? And the taker should resolve the challenge about to verify who you are and what do you have, right? And through the crypto means, right? So about ZK knowledge, right? Okay, so
yeah, I think
the Soban token is about why what are the SBT emphasize is about is a non-tradable, right? It's compared with the NFT, so which is very popular last year, and so and the SBTs I think is based in the very big ecosystem is about Ethereum, right? And last year, we will have get used to have the digital identity, the independent identity is you will sign with Ethereum, right? The Ethereum wallet address or the ENS equals to your digital identity, especially in the metaverse of the Ethereum, right? So the Soban token, so is to resolve the problem of what about your identity? What about your reputation? Your identity and your reputation cannot tradable. So it's to solve the paradox occur by the social tokens or the reputation tokens. If you can buy and sell your social token, you just lost your reputation, right? And a lot of experience, a lot of about your reputation, you cannot buy and cannot sell. So that's why the Soban token gave birth to, and so intrigue a lot of our colleagues to use the Soban token to resolve the paradox I mentioned.
Yeah,
right?
Thank you, Jing.
Yeah.
Thank you for making a
the last
kind of a cameo here. Yeah, go ahead.
The last point I want to say is since very few use case of the DID faces, so we can borrow the experience from the Facebook or Twitter. So that means you are what do you read, what do you did. So we just use the user's interaction. users' behaviors, users' performance to accumulate to form your identity in the digital world, I think. And so especially in the Web3, we want to build a platform. A platform is owned by the users to have their identity, by their having. So that's what I say.
Yeah, it's good to have you up here. And for the record, so MetaGem is also one of the grand round. They're also doing the GR14, and so good to have Gene kind of chiming in today and share more of his take on SBT and kind of a DID. And I think we can all agree. I think a lot of the speakers have touched upon kind of while there are like different paths, like to building DID, it's still in early stage. One core thing is that's different with identity systems we're talking about today versus pre Web3 is really around kind of having the users own their data and kind of own their kind of identities in this world, and that is facilitated by maybe like blockchain or maybe a proof chain and cryptography, which is something that NextID is building. So I think we had a pretty thorough and I think pretty diverse opinions about SBTs, prospect and DIDs. If there's no further thoughts, I would love to switch back to like focusing on for our early builders, like how you're building under this like market condition, and what are some of the challenges that you're seeing right now, and how has the what kind of resources has really helped you under this market. So we're switching gears to like sharing more about like right now, like kind of your building experience, and maybe touch upon like where we talked about grant round and maybe other like like fundraising challenges or like opportunities. Would love to hear from the projects here. How's that been for you as like pretty early stage builder in Web3? Anyone want to share first?
I could share generally. I'm kind of new to the hackathon scene, and a big deal to me is this quadratic funding. And so I'm still kind of catching up to all that I'm learning in that. But what I see is interesting opportunities, and dynamics are shifting and people's along with it. So I'm still happy to see the level of energy that's still involved in wanting to support projects. And so ways to get that exposure can connect to that funding.
Yeah, like quadratic funding, I think this like new mechanism is definitely getting a lot of traction. And I'm curious, like, what are some of the other resources as builders you've leveraged so far, and what are some of the main like kind of obstacles you've experienced building the project and growing it right now?
Yeah. Well, our project as an infrastructure or public good, we really appreciate the help from the Gitcoin, because we would like to be a neutral protocol that any project can use, any person can use, and therefore like net neutrality is really important for us. We don't want to take any VC money, and being able to receive the fund from the Gitcoin via quadratic funding is really helpful. Even though we could have take VC money, even though under such market condition, still there are a lot of money going around. And if you really want to take the VC money, you can, and there are a lot of people out there willing to write a check.
Yeah, Anyone else want to share in terms of like, obstacles built, maybe like more than just, fundraising, other stuff, just being a kind of maybe a first time a builder in the Web3 space, like many of us here. Yeah, I see Olivia, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, so I was just want to say that the market and the current situation is quite difficult for every one of us, and I think we still don't know how long this gonna last. And then as a builder, as a project, we want to hang on as longer as we can. So we are cutting budget. We are trying to extend more partnerships, establish more partnerships, so that we are welcoming or having more builders joining us, but like they are as a, say for example, content platforms and protocols themselves, and we're trying to utilize what has been built in the place, so that like everyone can benefit as from each other as a project, and I would say project ecosystem. So I think that's the difficult. I think that's the different part in Web3, so that a lot of projects are helping each other out. So yeah, I think we're still hanging there, and then we're trying to establish more like partnership, and then feel free to reach out to us if you guys are interested in content creation and interactive content and novels and comic books. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think one, personally, what drew me to Web3, one important kind of, I guess, first introduction to Web3 applications was around like a mirror, and seeing like new ways how content creation distribution can be really innovated and rejuvenated through Web3. So kudos to Readem for what you're doing. And yeah, for those that are interested in learning more, we can all like reach out to our speakers here. And I know like Luke, for example, you have some Web2 startup experience, starting a Web2 startup versus now starting a Web3 project. Could you share some thoughts, like what do you see to be the main differences?
I think the differences are huge, right? It's obviously two spheres that are in very different life cycles. Web2 is mostly dead right now. Like it's right, whether you're doing B2B or B2C. So yeah, it's gone past the point of maturity. It's over mature right now. I mean, of course, there's good things like in Web2, there's less Ponzi scams, maybe, but to be honest, a lot of these VC funded companies back in from the past 5 years, if you look at them, right, a lot of them, like say WeWork, right? WeWork was pretty Ponzi too. But I think the best thing about Web3 is I'd say the community. Um, uh, to be honest, so up until this point, our project hasn't been very heavily VC featured yet. Most of our support has come from more community-oriented projects, and so I think the thing about Web3 is as you bring in more community support, community decisions into the mix. I think one thing is it's actually a lot closer to the product market fit, right? You're taking money from the people that support you and think you are actually a good idea, regardless of whether some old white dude in Sand Hill Valley thinks you're good or not. Of course, experienced VCs will have unique perspectives, but it's always the case that VCs live in a very special world. They're very privileged. They're not always living the life that the people their companies are trying to support and serve are living. So I think what's really great about Web3 is how the community comes in. And how the community pushes projects, and also I think the way Gitcoin quadratic funding works. I think right now it's still kind of in a test stage, right? People are just trying to test it out. Most of these grants are like 50K or so, more as a token of gratitude. But I think in the future, what's really interesting about this model is, right, it really doesn't work well if you just have one person that donates, 10K or 100K, right? You want a lot of people donating $1 or $2 and showing that you really have the support of the people and of the audience and the community. I think this could be very revolutionary for projects down the road that maybe VCs have not wanted to fund because they didn't see the potential in terms of the particular world that they wanted to build. But if it's a project that was building something that community wanted to build, right, it would get funded and develop like vibrantly. And so yeah, I think the best thing about Web3 right now is how the community is pushing the evolution. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more like kind of bottoms up, like kind of driving forces to innovation. And like for Mask, we've been around for like 2 years now, and like it's just like such a pleasure for us to both like grow ourselves and also see if there are ways that we can help like projects within our ecosystem to grow as well. And we're seeing a lot of other projects building kind of a lot of like public services and public goods to help colleagues and builders, fellow builders, to continue on building this like still very very new space, especially in the bear market. We're seeing like more speculators are leaving the scene, and like what stays are like people who truly have convictions in what they're doing. Yeah, and so I think on that note. In terms of like how this industry would evolve, like certainly on like financial scales, like some people are feeling pretty gloomy about a lot of the indicators, but at the same time, I think there's still a lot of hope that we're looking for use cases that can onboard more end users to Web3. And one theory or like one school of thought is definitely around kind of like maybe game could be a good entry point or first touch point for general users. I want to hear the speakers like thoughts on what you think of that, and where do you see kind of the future of like social networks, SocialFi and GameFi kind of like intersects in the future? Yeah, and since we have Arch Network here representing like gaming, maybe we can start with you. We can start with Elina.
Yeah, sure. So if we're talking about the potential of social networking combining of gaming, of course, it's endless in my opinion, because in GameFi especially, interactions is really needed, and players they need a medium to interact with one another, and not only about the interaction on the gaming, but they need a community, a real community of Web3 gaming lovers, to share real-time strategy or just simply interact or strategy for the certain games. And the way that we see social networking is also related to NFTs, and we think that NFTs is also a huge part of social networking tool in GameFi. So NFT is a tool, and moving forward in Arch Network, we will enable users to like create their own chain ID to represent themselves, interact, and also manage their own chain assets. So it's related to the social networking side. And the good part is we will be also enabling them to set their NFT PFPs and boost their IP or internet personality to interact and also blend in with the other GameFi community. So social networking, if we're seeing the phenomenon of social networking in Web2, it's kind of like super divided into many things. So for example, if you're just simply want to connect with your friends, you can use Facebook or Instagram. But if you're more heading towards gamers, you rather use Discord or Twitch. But the utilizations and implementations of social networking in Web3, it's more, it's more connected to one another, and it's not really like divided into many parts. So the interesting part in Web3 is one thing and another. It's very connected. For example, NFTs like connected to gaming, also can be utilized for the social platform. Everyone can create and generate their NFTs. So the way that we see social networking in Web3 space, especially GameFi, is the I would say that it's not gonna be happening without any medium of social networking. So, which is why we took part in Arche Network. We're trying to be that community-different Web3 society for gamers to interact. So the first thing that they see, that the first thing that they'll search, if they wanted to be true gamers, is through Arch Network. So the potential of the utilizations of social networking, the adaptions, I would say, from Web 2 to Web 3, it's rather um, more have more potential, I would say.
Mhm.
So that's it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think one thing that really excites me as well is maybe like as we seeing like more real like kind of gamers or just people enjoying different types of games on chain. We're also seeing kind of social graphs being built on different types of games. GameFi projects. Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
also like to add that in Web3, because this is a really fresh industry, this is a really new, it's a really beginning. So people, especially in GameFi, they're seeking something that's really trustable, because
Mhm.
we all know, especially me, for example, if I wanted to know things about GameFi on Twitter or on Discord, there's so many things that are scam. There's so many things that I can
Right.
trust. There For so far, I haven't found a platform that I can fully have my trust in terms of like searching whether this game is real, or this game is sustainable, or the team is trustworthy, that kind of stuff. So it is our responsibility, I would say. It is everyone's responsibility here to not only build a really advanced social networking, but also a home or a platform where people can feel safe to to do anything. So yeah, that's the security part that I should really highlight for the user experience.
Yeah, for sure. And that's quickly on that, like that's what like we're building XID to help build more like kind of trustworthy and verifiable connections between users, like maybe web 2 social identities and their like Web3 like on-chain assets, etc., to add a layer of kind of authenticity and trust, like kind of and verifiable credentials across different platforms. Yeah. um
We as Arch Network, we're really looking forward to collaborate with projects that could help
mhm,
enhance the whole
for
experience.
sure.
Because the good thing and the beautiful thing, I would say, in crypto and blockchain, is that I think one needs another. Like we need another partner, we need another projects, protocols to have this healthy ecosystem. So in Web2, we see like this giant tax wants to just monopolize, wants to provide everything. But in Web3, I think the ecosystem, if we want the ecosystem to be healthy, we need to cooperate with one another, we need to empower
Mhm,
each other, and that's the really nice thing, I would say. That's all.
definitely. Any other thoughts from our speakers? In terms of entry point to onboard more end users into Web3, your thoughts on GameFi, on that. I know it's also getting a little bit late, so thank you all for staying with us. Yeah. We've covered a lot of, I think, different areas from like your the builders, like your own experiences. So I think there's a lot of discussions around identities, Soban token, how DID would take shape, and its potential, like applications, how it would impact. Also, like on top of it, like maybe GameFi projects and like in DAO and DAO tooling and governance moving forward. So yeah, like lastly, if the speakers have like any words of encouragement or inspirations you want to share with other builders, I'd love to hear from you right now. Yeah, or and any other thoughts you would like to share? for those that are thinking of starting their Web3 project, or like, you know, if we can type time, you can travel back in time, what would you say to yourself before you enter into the Web3 space as a builder?
Okay, I'll just have a quick thoughts about this. I think in Web3, the difference is we have more equal opportunity to build great things, and potential is infinite as we're super early, and there are many things to be built. So we, Arche Network, we've been growing from time to time, and so does everyone in this space, I would say. And the important key to grow in Web3 for people who wanted to build is the willingness to just observe, learn, and adapt, but also the ability to be fast, but also careful at the same time, as the space pass moving so fast. So I would say that because of this equal opportunity that we have in the Web3 space, it's a nothing to lose, I would say. So there are maybe many things that people build, and maybe when you build something, and then there are other platform that builds like kind of like the same, but that's the gap that we as a builder have to show, that what we create is unique and has great social and digital impact. So just it's a nothing to lose, and it's a everyone has equal opportunity. Everyone is now trusting the proof of work. It's unlike the traditional business, I would say. So yeah, just go for it, I would say, and just keep learning, because it's learning. Me myself, I feel like I will never learn forever about this crypto space. So
yeah, there are new things, and honestly, like new buzzwords that are coming up like all the time. Like we're all like kind of debunking, you know, like understanding SBT, DID, and then like, you know, last year was NFT. So there are always like new concepts, which it's a really good sign, I think, to think about a lot of different toolkits and technologies that we can use to make this ecosystem more mature and fundamentally kind of like, you know, guarantee more rights of the users in Web3, and also onboard more of the users into this space through everything that we're building collectively.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. I've had so much fun talking to all of you, and, you know, learning different perspectives about your projects and on some of the hot topics. Any questions from our audience so far? If you do, you can, you know, click on request mic, and if not, we'll also wrap up today's conversation. All right. Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand. And again, a lot of these projects, you can follow them and follow on the kind of latest product updates, both on the Grand Round and beyond. And we're really excited to see so many builders, like, you know, for this particular Web3 social club, to get all these like emerging builders into this space. Yeah. With that, yeah, thank you all, dear speakers, for coming, and for our listeners, yeah, for tuning in. A lot of you guys are stayed on for the whole time, so I have a lot of tears for your support. Yeah, thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you all. All right, bye.